Alright, you lot. Welcome to Scotty, show where we take your questions, sprinkle in some sarcasm, and serve it up hotter than clean as flamethrower. Got a burning question about gaming, life, or why Southerners are so soft? Well, you're in the right place. We're diving into some absolute belters today, everything from XDefiant Mayhem to deep existential ponderings like, what's the meaning of life? Trust me, you don't want to miss this. But before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe and all that bollocks. It helps the channel grow and makes me look good in front of algorithm gods. Right then, let's get started. This one comes from Johan Ameland 1217 on YouTube. If Call of Duty removed SBMM EOMM, would you switch to COD or stay with XDefiant? Well, Johan, let me break it down for you. First off, let's not pretend COD's matchmaking systems are the only thing holding the game together, or tearing it apart, depending on which side of Winometer you're on. Removing SBMM and EOMM might stop you from being lobbed into sweatbox with Warzone's resident Terminators, but it don't magically fix everything else dragging COD down. You know, like overpriced skins, servers that feel like they're powered by Amster on live support, or gameplay mechanics that have been stale since Modern Warfare 2. First one, not reheated leftovers. Now, would I still dabble in COD? Sure, why the hell not? It's like having a greasy kebab after a night out. You know it's bad for you, but sometimes you're in the mood to get messy. But would it pull me away from XDefiant? Not a chance. The XDefiant's like that underrated indie band you discovered before they got big. It's got passion, it's got creativity, and most importantly, not trying to shove engagement optimized nonsense down your throat. And when I play XDefiant, I feel like a gamer, not a KPI on some Activision accountant spreadsheet. Plus there's something beautifully old school about a shooter that focuses on fun first, rather than pandering to try-hard TikTok montages. So to answer your question, I'd still play both, but XDefiant would remain my ride or die. Why? Because it's a game made for people like me. People who play objective, have no interest in 360 no-scope pissing contests, and just want to have a laugh without being throttled by matchmaking algorithms tuned tighter than a nun's corset. COD without SBMM is still COD. Giant corporate beast pretending to be your mate while rifling through your wallet. XDefiant? That's a game that feels like home. Well, let's be real. Ubisoft Smart Ruben gets it. Guy listens, engages, and actually gives a toss about players, which is more than I can say for faceless suits over at Activision HQ. So yeah, I'll keep my COD time casual, like a distant acquaintance at a wedding. For XDefiant, that's family. Next question comes from Ages444 on YouTube. Let's take a look. There's a few questions I'm genuinely curious about, but one that comes to mind most is which classic CODs did you prefer most? 1, 2, and 3. I assume you played all of them at least once since you mentioned COD 1 in one of your videos. Well, Ages444, you've done your homework, haven't you? Gold star for effort. Now let's talk classic CODs. Games that didn't need battle passes, overpriced skins, or 10-hour patch downloads to be iconic. Out of Holy Trinity, 1, 2, and 3, I'd have to go with Call of Duty 2. Why? Because it took everything COD 1 did right and cranked it up with heartbreaking dial. Gunplay, crisp, campaigns, immersive, D-Day mission, absolute masterclass in making players sweat bullets while also dodging them. It was a game that made you feel like you were there knee-deep in chaos of World War II, with sound design that could practically rattle your fillings. Now don't get me wrong, Call of Duty 1 deserves respect. It was OG, one that kicked door down and said, "We're here, Medal of Honor can sod off." But it was still finding its footing, much like a rookie soldier tripping over his rifle. Great game, but not quite masterpiece its sequel became. And there were COD 2 Big Red 1, and that's a curveball worth unpacking. For those who didn't dabble in this console-exclusive gem, Big Red 1 wasn't just an expansion, it was a love letter to boys of World War II. It gave us tighter, more personal narrative compared to COD 2's globe-trotting campaign. I don't remember all specifics, probably cost my brain too busy being blown by, the captured grit and camaraderie of war. But it stuck with me, and that says something. So yeah, Call of Duty 2 takes crown, but Big Red 1 gets honorary mention for punching above its weight. These games weren't just about kill streaks or quick scopes, they're about telling stories and making you feel like you were part of history. There you go, Ages444. I hope that satisfies your curiosity, or at least gives you enough ammo to start your own classic COD debate. Alright, next question comes from your boy Ricky123 on YouTube. What playstyle do you use in XDefiant? Do you go guns blazing with a shotgun, maybe hang back with a marksman sniper, or just spray and pray with an LMG? Well, Ricky, let's start by saying this. I'm not here for kill cams or highlight reels. I'm here for objective. That's my playstyle. Strategy, tactics. Playing to win instead of padding some useless KD ratio. I'm not a YouTuber trying to impress 12-year-olds with montage edits. I'm guy capping points while everyone else is running around like caffeinated toddlers chasing kill streaks. Now that's not to say it always works. Trust me, Battlefield is full of twonks who treat objective like it's radioactive. You know what, Ty? Headless chickens spraying SMGs and spamming ping with hot focus or a goldfish on energy drinks. I've seen it all. Players more interested in the triple kills than the fact that we're 3 seconds away from losing zone. So, to answer your question, I adapt based on situation. But it's always about objective. That's all damn game, Ricky. It's not team deathmatch with extra steps. And yeah, additional XP rewards for playing objective has helped a bit, finally giving those kill chasers a reason to grow a brain cell or two. But even now, you still see players treating domination like it's free-for-all warm-up. Newsflash, lads. Clues in name. Domination. As in, dominate zones, not scoreboard. So now you won't catch me running around, guns blazing with a shotgun unless it's part of the plan. I'm not here to look flashy. I'm here to win. And let me tell you, there's not more satisfying than pulling off a clutch capture and holding a point against all odds while KD warriors are off trying to farm kills like it's the retirement plan. That's my playstyle, Ricky. Objective focus, tactical, maybe just a bit salty when teams made up a twonks. But hey, someone's got to carry the team, right? This next gem comes from Pyro the Friendly Arsonist 9195 on YouTube. Let's see what Pyro's cooking. Do you have a favourite Tom Clancy series? If so, which one? Splinter Cell, Ghost Recon, Division, Rainbow Six, or Hawks? Nah, Pyro. I reckon most folks would shout Rainbow Six from rooftops, and fair play to them. It's a legendary series and earned its stripes. But me? I'm not about to follow herd. For me, it's Ghost Recon. Hands down. Why? Because Ghost Recon don't just drop you into firefights. It drops you into an entire world. Whether you're sneaking through jungles in wildlands or tackling futuristic tech in breakpoints, it's not just about pulling trigger. It's about thinking like a soldier, planning like a strategist, and occasionally winging it like a pub quiz team after too many pints. And let's not forget older games. Advanced Warfighter, tactical masterpiece. Future Soldier, criminally underrated. Ghost Recon games always have a way of immersing you in boots of elite operatives without turning you into a one-man army. It's about teamwork, tactics, and sheer thrill of pulling off perfect ambush, or improvising when your mate blows your cover. Now don't get me wrong, I got love for other series too. Splinter Cell's Sam Fisher, its poster boy for stealth gaming. Division brings that post-apocalyptic survival vibe that scratches a different itch. And Rainbow Six? Well, Siege is still going strong for a reason, even if I've lost count of how many operators they've added. Even Hawks. Yeah, that were decent in its own way too. Sure, it wasn't groundbreaking, but who don't like strapping into a fighter jet and letting loose? Well, like Top Gun, but with fewer beach volleyball scenes and more missile. But here's kicker. It's not just about games. Entire Tom Clancy universe is a work of art. Books, absolute gold. If you've never read Hunt for Red October or Clear and Present Danger, you're missing out. Films and TV shows? Yeah, I know some critics love to moan about them, but honestly, I enjoy every single one of them. Whether it's Jack Ryan on Prime or Without Remorse, it's all solid entertainment in my book. So while Rainbow Six might be a fan favourite, Ghost Recon's got my loyalty. It's thinking game as Clancy series, blending tactics, teamwork, and just enough chaos to keep you on your toes. Thanks for the question, Pyro. Next question comes from Psychic74 on YouTube. Let's check it out. Been loving content. Are there any game modes or weapons you'd like to see in XDefiant? Personally, a hardcore or crazy ability party mode could be exciting. First off, Psychic, cheers for the love. Glad to hear content's hitting spot. Now let's get into it. XDefiant's already shaping up to be a proper gem in shooter world, but if I could sprinkle a little extra chaos into the mix, I'd love to see a hostage mode. Picture this. One team defends a hostage, other team has to rescue and extract them. Sounds familiar? Yeah, it's a nod to Rainbow Six Siege, but here's a twist. I want it done in true XDefiant style. None of that slow, methodical, heart-pounding stuff. Nah, I'm talking fast-paced, over-the-top mayhem where abilities and factions turn all rescue up into pure, unfiltered chaos. Maybe cleaners could use the flamethrowers to fortify choke points, while Echelon sneaks in for a cheeky extraction. It'd be tactical, sure, with just right amount of unpredictability to keep things fresh. Now, I like your suggestion too. Hardcore mode could be a banger, especially for masochists out there who love one-shot kills and no HUD. But idea of crazy ability party mode? That's got legs. Crank every ability to 11, tank cooldowns into a joke, and let players go absolutely berserk. Imagine phantoms tanking like gods, or DedSec hacking abilities on loop. It'd be glorious chaos, and I'm all for it. At the end of the day, XDefiant thrives on fun, not formulaic matchmaking nonsense. So more unique modes and weapons they add, better. Ubisoft's already proven they're listening to the community, so here's hoping they keep creativity flowing. Thanks for the question, Sidekick. Keep ideas coming. You never know who's watching these suggestions. Alright, next question comes from NotMeU9922 on YouTube, who asks, Yo Scotty, if you could add or change one thing in XDefiant, what would it be and why? Well mate, that's an easy one. Proximity chat. Imagine possibilities. Nah, seriously, close your eyes and picture it for a second. You're holding zone, sweating bullets, and suddenly you hear some bloke on other team yelling, Oi, it's behind you! Or better yet, that sweet moment when you wipe a squad, and all you hear is the collective groan as they realise they've just been schooled by someone who plays objective. It's not just about banter though. Proximity chat adds a whole new layer of chaos and hilarity to the game. It's a psychological weapon as much as a gameplay tool. Want to mess with enemy? Start bluffing about a flank they'll never see coming. Want to rally your teammates? Yell at them in real time instead of praying they notice your pings. And let's not forget those golden moments of accidental comedy. You know, like someone screaming because they didn't see you coming, or enemy team breaking into an argument mid-match. Kind of feature that could turn every game into a memorable story. Now I know some people will say, but Scotty, proximity chat and just lead to toxicity. And yeah, there'd be some muppets who abuse it, but that's what mute button's for, innit? Plus, Ubisoft could always implement filters or reporting system to keep it from turning into verbal cesspool. But honestly, potential for fun far outweighs risk. Proximity chat would take XDefiant's energy and crank it to 11, turning every match into a chaotic blend of tactics, gameplay, and just right amount of smack talk. So yeah, not me, you 9922. That's my answer. Give me proximity chat, and I guarantee XDefiant will go from great shooter to an unforgettable experience. Until then, I'll just have to settle screaming into the void when my teammates ignore objective. Thanks for the question, matey. This next head scratcher comes from Chris N3646 on YouTube, who asks, Hi Scotty, I've watched dozens of videos from YouTube streamers, and they all have one thing in common, zero recoil. Hell, I just watched a video and even handguns had no recoil. When I use handguns, they bounce around like they've got a mind of their own. Am I wrong? Am I imagining it? Just wondering what your take on it is. Chris, mate, you're not imagining it. There are two explanations here. Killer control, flat out cheating. Now let's be generous and start with the idea that these streamers are just really, really good. Maybe they've spent countless hours perfecting the recoil control, dialing the settings and tweaking the sensitivity to Jedi level precision. But even then, let's be real, zero recoil? On every weapon? Even pistols? That's pushing the limit of believability. So let's get into the darker side of this conversation. With rise at Cronus Zen, Sim adapters and other aim assist exploits, it's entirely possible some of these so-called top-tier players are bending rules. Adding gyro controls mashed in with aim assist, a well-known exploit that turns even wobbliest shooters into laser beams, and you got a recipe for some very suspicious gameplay. I'm not saying they're all cheating, but let's be honest, it does make you wonder, especially when certain streamers look like they're playing on rails, yet conveniently have zero footage of their hands on controller or mouse. Makes you think, doesn't it? And don't even get me started on editing tricks. Some of these videos are cut so tightly they could hide any number of shady moments. Watching those perfect recoil control clips is like watching a magician. Half the trick is in what you don't see. So Chris, here's my take. If your gun's bouncing like they're possessed, you're probably playing a game where it's meant to be played. Warts and all. Meanwhile, if someone's running around with recoil so low it looks like they're playing duck hunt, maybe give them a side eye. Because whether it's skill or skullduggery, it's not exactly our monstrous experienced game. Thanks for the question, mate. Next question comes from UAP Mothership on YouTube, who's coming in hot with this. Hey Scotty, what's your views on decline of Call of Duty? And new generation of gamers whose heads are so far up the favourite cheating streamers' arses they can't see obvious cheats on display. Those older gamers have seen rise and decline of gaming over the past 20 years, especially with Call of Duty. In my opinion, COD's best era started at World at War and ended with Modern Warfare 2019. Since then, game hasn't felt the same. Movement, ADS, everything feels off. 5 years of subpar games and a massive increase in non-legit streamers. Do you think COD can be saved? Well, mate, first off, let's give some respect to OG Call of Duty titles. Without COD 1, 2 and Big Red 1, we wouldn't even have Legendary World at War or Modern Warfare eras to talk about. And don't forget COD 4, Modern Warfare, a game that put Call of Duty on multiplayer map, thanks in part to Mark Rubin, legend in his own right. Now, can Call of Duty be saved? That's a tricky one. On one hand, I like to say, yeah, of course. On other, I'm not holding my breath while Activision keeps dancing to tune their SBMM and EOMM. These matchmaking systems have turned what were once a community-driven, skill-based game into corporate experiment designed to milk every penny from players. Problem? Too scared to turn it off. Losing even 1% of the player base terrifies them because that's what data says. But here's the thing, data don't tell whole story. If they did some real research, they'd see that thousands of OG players, people who grew up with COD, have walked away sick at nonsense. So here's my challenge to Activision. Prove us wrong. Launch Call of Duty 2025, said to be a sequel to Black Ops 2, with SBMM and EOMM turned off. Here's a COD experience that's raw, community-focused, and free from manipulated matchmaking. I'm willing to bet it will be biggest COD in history. Player base would explode, nostalgia would bring OGs back, and you create a new golden age of COD. Balls in your court, Activision. Stop playing it safe and get players what they've been asking for. You've got IP, resources, and legacy. Just stop trying to over-engineer fun out of it. And as for cheating streamers and their adoring fans, mate, it's depressing, innit? These gamers can't see what's right in front of their faces. People running with obvious cheats like Cronus or macros while claiming to be cracked. But hey, give them a few years and they'll figure it out. Maybe. Thanks for killer question, UAP Mothership. Next question comes from Tonyist on YouTube, who's clearly had enough of this spinning rock we call Earth. Hey Scotty, can you just beam me up now? I want off. Well, Tonyist, I hear you loud and clear. Trust me, there are plenty of days where I'd love to ditch this madhouse myself. But in immortal words of Montgomery Scott,
I just can't do it, Captain. I don't have the power.
Now, if I did have a transporter handy, I'd say grab your phaser and pack a bag, because we'd be off to some faraway star system where there's no Twitter, no taxes and no microtransactions. But, alas, we're stuck here, dealing with twonks, overpriced DLC, and occasional existential crisis. That said, let me offer you some sage advice instead. If you can't beam up, just aim to beam out. Take a breather, step away from chaos, and recharge your warp core. Life's a grind, but every captain needs a break from bridge now and then. And hey, if all else fails, there's always gaming, our version of holodeck escape. Whether you're saving world, looting gear, or just blowing off steam, it's next best thing to hopping on a starship and warping out of here. Thanks for the question, Tonyist. And remember, even Scotty needed a stiff drink and a deep breath to keep Enterprise running. Alright, next we got double feature from my southern pal DroneNet on Twitter, and I'm loving banter already. First up, how many nurses did you pull while you visited hospital? Or, for Woke Brigade, talk to? Well, DroneNet, sadly, answer is none. Not for lack of charm, mind you, but I did manage to snag one nurse's number, so let's not write me off just yet. Time will tell, mate. Give me a few more checkups and who knows, maybe I'll have a Florence Nightingale romance story to tell. Stay tuned. And now for second swing. When we get private matches on XDefiant, how are you northern boys going to hold your heads up after being kicked by us southerners? Oh, is that a challenge, mate? Feeling a bit brave, are we? Look, I'll give you southerners credit. You've got sun, fancy coffee shops, and a lot of people who call dinner supper. But when it comes to grit, skill, and raw determination, we northerners are built different. You lot might have swagger, but let's see how that holds up when you're getting smacked around map by a bunch of lads who've been raised on pies, proper pints, and a lifetime of weather so grim it turns us into stone cold warriors. Private matches? Bring it on. I'll happily lead northern charge. And by end of it, you southerners will be crying into your overpriced lattes, wondering how you lost to people who call bread rolls baps. Thanks for the question, DroneNet. Always a pleasure, mate. Alright, next deep thinker is Tommy R on YouTube, who asks, what's meaning of life? Well, Tommy, isn't that a Monty Python film? If it's not, it bloody well should be. Seriously, go watch Meaning of Life. It's absurd, brilliant, and perfectly sums up how nonsensical existence can feel sometimes. But alright, let's set comedy aside for a second and get real. Meaning of life is one of those questions that philosophers, poets, and pubgoers have been arguing about for centuries. Some say it's about love, others say it's about leaving a legacy, and a few will tell you it's about making sure your team wins in XDefiant. For me, it's simpler than all eyebrow pondering. Life's about pursuing worthwhile goals and achieving a sense of fulfillment. Whether that's crushing it in a game, building relationships, or just doing something that makes you feel alive, meaning of life is about finding what gives you purpose and running with it. And hey, if you're still figuring it out, that's fine too. Half the fun of life is journey, not just destination. So take risks, make mistakes, and for the love of all that's holy, don't take yourself too seriously, because nobody gets out alive anyway. Thanks for the question, Tommy. Keep seeking those big answers, and maybe one day you'll stumble across your own. And that's it for this episode of Hey Scotty. We've tackled big questions, settled North versus South, spoiler, North wins, and had a laugh a long way. If you're still here, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and leave your comment below with your thoughts and questions. Who knows, I might just feature yours in the next episode. I'll see you next time, you magnificent